Today, we're going to talk about one of the top topics in health and fitness right now. We fucked up a good group of kids because it just makes these kids and adults zombies. To be comfortable, just to be healthy, that can change everything. All right, let's continue on. And I've been on the other side. So I really feel it for these liberals who are mad at the leadership of the Democratic Party. It's a lose-lose. It doesn't matter if you're right on the position. I want to see some of these cuts. They're all up in arms this weekend because of the gang members that were deported. That's not El Salvador, man. That El Salvador, I think I'd rather go to Gitmo. There are people that are on the wrong side of that, man. Think about that, though. If 7% of the country really thinks chocolate milk comes from brown cows, you gotta think that it, for sure, at least 10% of the country is totally dumb as fuck. This doesn't end well unless it ends. Can't just report the fucking obvious.
I don't care what a critic gotta say, I got 'em picking up the pieces. That mean you really playing with your life, I'm about to come.
Just a motherfucking jump. Just go. Let's fucking go. This is the Outlaw Apostle Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Neff. I'm the fucking guy. And I am pumped this morning. And I welcome also the other fucking guy. Helps me get this done 3 times a week now, giving you more of what you didn't ask for. Chase.
What's up, man? How you doing today?
I'm doing great, brother. It was a good night last night. I won a little money on the DraftKings there. The Suns actually won me some money for a change.
Man,
and
what a game, by the way.
stomped on the Raptors. That was good. We had a good time, too. The Raptors are, I got to follow them a little bit more and bet against them more. They are horrible. They're like a B-League team.
For
The
most
whole
part.
team. I don't know. I think maybe they got one player, and I don't even know if he's playing. I didn't see him. They're horrible.
I mean, the Suns they made them look like a really bad
They
team.
made
They made them look
well, and they made
bad.
the Suns look like they were
A great
really
team,
good.
yeah.
And they I don't know, they were rotating maybe because of the score. They were rotating in more, of the next 3 or 4 guys. You have your starting 5 and then you have your next 3, 4 guys. And the guys that aren't your starting 5, you know what they do when they get in a game? They actually don't know any better, so they run the offense. They literally run whatever offense that coach teaches, and they move around. The thing I noticed about those players, and when they were in last night, when, say, Booker would be out or,
Beal or Durant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that those guys did a pretty solid job because they created opportunities and easy shots because they were moving around, which was my biggest bitch about watching them previously. It's like, fucking move. You can't get open standing there. That's not a thing.
Especially the taller guys on a guru or whatever he
And,
is.
and Bowl didn't even get till the end of the game, but he had a great slam at the end of the game that everybody just stood. He got the whole stadium on their
On their feet.
on their feet. It was kind of funny. Like, where's he been all game? They're playing everybody else. But yeah, so we had a good time. We had a good time. So we have our segments now. We have our little pattern that seems to be working really good, and I've really been enjoying it. So let's get started with our MAHA segment, Make America Healthy Again. And today we're going to talk about one of the top topics in health and fitness right now, which is how exercise, working out, and it doesn't have to be in a gym. It can be in a gym, but physical activity they've been researching this and finding that the benefits of working out, that you get better results than they do with the drugs they use for people who have, depression or other mental health issues.
Yeah.
you know. And I can tell you, not just the exercise, but finally, the thing that I talk about all the time, testosterone, it's we've known it for a long time in the bodybuilding and fitness area, people that actually use it and do it. We know the benefits. We've experienced it without a study. We just experienced it and knew that this was a thing. And both of these things together can be absolutely tremendous. So if somebody is low T, absolutely fixing their hormone levels, as opposed to the negatives that you hear about testosterone, you know, anger, roid rage. Again, testosterone does not make someone an asshole. They already were. They just become a bigger, stronger, more confident asshole with the use of testosterone. But we do know that it literally has been life-changing, and I've seen it happen a lot, and especially for on the mental health side for guys that served in the military. And I happen to work with, a lot of my clients are vets. I have some current people serving too as well, but especially the vets, because they're most likely to be experiencing, the PTSD and the depression and the anxiety and trying to get back into normal life and just be a human again, trying to relate and people. I'm sure it's hard because you don't get good support or help through the VA, and where do they turn? And that's why, you have the number of suicides that you have, higher than the normal rate of just the general public with people who have served. So super important. So really cool. This is really important to me. And one of the things that is pointed out is because of COVID-19, that mental health and like that just, I know this for a fact, and it's not just adults, it was kids. Now I'm talking about the teenagers who were in high school during COVID and now are out of school, I, we fucked up a good group of kids with COVID in keeping them locked down. And I know while it was going on in 21, because I had personal experience with a young man who was struggling at the time, that it was hard to get him help. Like he actually was approved by insurance and, was diagnosed, needed help, needed inpatient help. Okay. Couldn't get it. The waiting period was 6 months. That is insane. So we're woefully inadequate in providing real mental health help. And what we've been doing has not been working. And just drugging people with Xanax and the like. I'm not saying it's never appropriate to use those things, but using those things long term is not the answer. It has not worked. There has to be a plan, because it just makes these kids and adults zombies, and that's no good. For me, during the pandemic, I was lucky enough to come across and meet someone who became a friend for a minute and that had workout equipment. And so I was able to stay sane during the whole thing by being able to show up to somebody's garage and throw some weights around, and was blessed to be able to do that. And then when gyms did open, you know, I fought wearing the mask. I did wear the mask sometimes when I had to, you know, inside of Planet Fitness, and they all had different rules. And you were allowed, like, once you got to the spot you were going to lift in, you were allowed to lower the mask. But walking from spot to spot, you had to put, it was the stupidest shit that we allowed them to impose upon us, when one of the most important things, it wasn't going to save anybody immediately, but one of the most important things we needed to be doing was helping people with their diet and their health and their exercise, and getting them doing those things so that they would be stronger or less susceptible, or if they did get COVID, even like how I got COVID last year even, and how it almost killed me. What saved me? Dawn and the fact that I was fit as fuck. You know, if I hadn't been fit and lost that weight that quickly, it would have finished me. That's what we're dealing with this. And but so fitness now seems to be a bigger focus. I don't think I'm just seeing this because that's what I focus on. You know, I don't know. I'm sure some of the gyms that had the people after New Year's, you know, that some of those people are gone. But, you know, I can just talk about the gyms around here that we go to here in Arizona, but they're packed and building more. Literally packed and building more, and building another, you know, of the same gym within a 5-mile radius, even like that. It can support that. I mean, we have EOS, we have Mountainside Fitness, we have Planet Fitness. They're building another Mountainside Fitness. I mean, and the EOSs, they keep there's 2 of those within 10 minutes of me. You know, they're just all, and they're packed. And we drive by. If you want to know where a lot of young people are today on a Friday night, go to the gym. 10 o'clock at night, they're there. No clue what they're doing, but they're there. And I'd rather have them there than not have them there, you know, to get that, because it's kind of, it's at least if you get a taste of it when you're young, if you don't stick with it, you're probably going to come back to it at some point. And that's a good thing. But I think more young people today, more than we did when we were in our 20s, at least my Gen Xers, I think they care more about health now and what they're eating. So like I feel like the pendulum is shifted, not just politically that we've seen, but it's also they're pushing back, and they don't it's natural, right? Pushing back against those who have power, you know, the older generations, the parents. They don't want to be like that. They don't want to be unfit. And, you know, they also seem to be a hungry group too. Like I see more hustle in the younger kids now than what we used to. You know, we always complained about, you know, the millennials and stuff, but I don't know what letter the current generation is yet. I'm sure they have a letter for them. But that's, you know, 18 to 25 right now. Yeah, look that up. What do we call the 18 to 25-year-old generation right now? Beta?
They would technically be.
I'm going with those. I'm talking about. I don't know about
even
this.
Under 18, I would assume is
the beta.
betas.
That's awful. Who would want to be called Generation Beta? They need to protest that. I don't know who did that. That is fucked up, dude. So the alpha. So you have Gen X, and I don't know about this. The Gen Z. It must be the Gen Zers. You know what I'm saying? That kind of seemed to be on a weak end, and now there was the bounce back with the alphas, because that sounds about right.
Oh,
That sounds like a shift. It makes sense to me a little bit, anyways. Yeah, people born in that time period. But now people born this year and after. Okay, I get it. People born this year and after are going to be Generation Beta. That is awful. And I don't know it's kind of, I don't know how they determine how they give them names.
Honestly,
who does that?
It feels
who
like they
gets
just
the
like
power to
randomly
just
generate it.
do that and make that shit up.
Maybe they vote on it or something.
Who? I want to know who they are that are doing that. Because really, we don't know how that generation's going to be yet, do we? If they're just being born this year, we don't know who the fuck they are or what they're going to be. So I would say it's the last of the tail end of the Gen Z making a change, and then leading into this current generation too, because the alpha generation isn't quite old enough yet, but just what we're seeing. So I would say it's the last half of the Gen Z that we're seeing. That I like meeting them, out and about and talking to that generation. It's a good generation to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
Just, I don't know. Maybe I like you. That's all good. So, all right. So people learning how much exercise can be a benefit to improve your mood, not just your physical health, just make you feel better about getting up out of bed every day and taking on the day. And when you set certain goals in the gym or for yourself and you meet those goals, you know what you get? Self-confidence. It's self. You don't get confidence from other people. It comes from you. It comes from inside. It comes from you setting or making a promise to yourself that I'm going to do this thing tomorrow, and then actually doing it. Even just small things. If you want to improve the way that you think about that yourself and have that confidence, that's how you do it. You focus on those kinds of things, make promises to yourself, because that's, talk about disappointing. It's when you want to do something, you plan to do it, and then fail to do it, and it's all inside your head. That's when you're going to get the most fucked up. So I think it certainly helps. And the science behind it, right? Doesn't matter. It can be strength training. It can be, hiking. All of these things lower cortisol levels, your endorphins. That's for many of us, to get that good feeling. We get that good feeling when we go to the gym, when we just start throwing stuff around. And I can tell you, if you ask about anybody who's really consistent at the gym, we all have days we don't want to go. But when we go, even when we don't want to, it doesn't take very long. Every one of us has experienced it. We feel better once we get there and do that. You may have done that too. So, other than just these other traditional treatments and just giving people drugs, this is a good shift. This is a good shift. The answer does not have to be big pharma. The answer from the medical community does not have to come on a slip of paper. And again, I'm not against that slip of paper. I'm not against that slip of paper that has a prescription for testosterone on it when somebody is low T. You know, that's absolutely important. But lifestyle changes are also going to help increase someone's testosterone. Now, maybe not enough to bring it up to normal levels or optimal levels, but it needs to be a part of the program, and it's always something somebody can do first. Always, you know, you don't have to wait. You don't have to wait for an appointment. You don't have to wait for time. You can just get started anytime that you want. So, and then younger generation. See, I just said it's got to get it into this. Gen Z, 65%. How about this? This is really good. 65% prioritize health and fitness. That was based on Strava data. And I've used the Strava app for biking and stuff like that. And mental health booster, group fitness classes, you know, because then in the classes for some people, you're also getting a connection with other people around you that have felt maybe the same way that you do, or they did at one time, you know, and that's somebody you can talk to about that. That also means a lot. So, you know, if you need help with a routine, help is out there. Find the help. Prioritize this. This is only going to help you in your business, in your home life. Everything just shifts from this. I think it's absolutely wonderful. We have all of these types of too, especially for this generation. I mean, everybody seems to, except for some of us. Some of us wear watches. I don't even wear this to tell the time. Why? I don't wear it for that reason. So, but if you're not wearing a luxury watch, the number one type of watch that people are wearing are Google and Apple watches, right? Or
Apple Watches.
yeah, but I see those other ones too. Is that a Google, the circle ones? What is it?
Yeah, there's Google, there's Apple, there's all types of watches nowadays.
Yeah,
I'll be honest with you.
And just wearing it, like, can pick up different signals. I've looked at it. I haven't bought one yet. I know one of my friends back home has got one, and he's wearing it. And I might do that for me and Dawn just to kind of check on my sleep more.
I was about to say
stuff.
for sleep, I've heard it's actually pretty good to like record like different like sleeping patterns and stuff like that, like where you can improve like sleeping.
The Aura rings. Have you heard of those?
I might have. Yeah.
Oura. They seem to be the big one that came out. And actually, I saw it on the show Billions.
Okay.
That they gave them to all the employees, and the employees liked them until they found out they could track them with it and where they were. So, but yeah, I don't know about the watches, but the rings were, the Aura ring. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah. And I think you put it more on like your index finger.
Because I believe it has to be like a finger that has like a pulse to the heart or something, or a stronger pulse or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Now this is going to make me look it up. Now it's going to be coming up on my phone. It's going to be on my fucking feed now. Son of a bitch.
It's kind of dope, actually.
It is kind of cool, isn't it? Like I said, my one buddy, he loves it. And last time I saw him talking about it, that kind of made me think about it again, because I've thought about it more than once. Yeah, see? I guess some people are wearing it on a different finger, but a lot of people wearing it on their index finger. So just technology. I mean, and using that technology, especially the younger generation, you know, they're to use that to assist them. That's just common. They don't think twice about it, you know, and these are good tools. So this is pretty positive that people are talking about this now and that it's being taken seriously, and just more about making people better and healthier. Because I just see it, going to the game last night, I just observe people, and, like it's sad. We just have way too many people. You do not need, this is not about, for me, it's about looking good. I'm going to be honest. It is about looking good. But I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about trying to match some ideal that some people think maybe society's trying to push on people and stuff. For the most part, we're kind of past that. And you have to be a grown-ass adult and not let that kind of stuff influence you anymore. But about being healthy. Again, you don't have to have a six-pack. But being, anywhere under 20%, even, being 18 to 20% body fat for a male is more important than how tall you are and how much you weigh, than what your BMI is. So, like, you might be a little fluffy. Like right now, I'm on it. Like, I'm a little fluffy right now. And I'm okay with it because I'm enjoying life right at the moment. I mean, I'm fit. I look good in my clothes, but I do not have a six-pack now. I'm a good 2-3% away from having really divisible abs. Now it's not there. They are there. You can see them. Okay, so I'm probably right around 17%, 16% right now. And people don't realize you don't have to go real low to see your abs. Most men can see their abs at around 15%.
You just have to actually really exercise them.
That too. First is diet. You got to strip the fat away first. Because if you're 60 pounds, 100 pounds overweight, there's very little ab exercise that's going to make a difference for you at that point. I'm not saying don't work out your core at all, but don't put a big focus on it. That's not the focus. The focus is just on lifting, period, at that point, right? So yeah, just to be comfortable, just to be healthy, that can change everything. So it's not about, I'm not trying to implore people. Like I said, like my clients, people come to me with the goals that are their goals. I don't impose my goals on other people. I try to help people. What's going to make you happy? What kind of body type and being able to do certain physical activity. People will tell me that too, especially when you get over 40, that, I just don't feel like I can do the things I want to do as long or as much, or, be as active with grandkids or other things because they're just not fit enough to. And that's the kind of stuff that's important. Not, a certain look or, getting attention, I mean, obviously for what I do, the goal is to get attention so that you have an audience to talk to share these things that we can talk about. And now, it's better late than never. We should have started this. It's 6 months after COVID hit. We knew then how much diet and fitness played a role in being able to either avoid getting COVID or surviving it. We knew that your chances were better, just like the same reason why people under 18 were less likely to get it and have complications. We knew where the complications were, and we should have focused on the people at greatest risk instead of forcing everybody else to do a bunch of dumb shit, And I should have included that in here since I've been talking about it, but maybe for another podcast, we'll do that, because the New York Times, a columnist for New York Times this past week, posted an article basically admitting and apologizing that they got it wrong. that things that they were saying, just wasn't true. And, we shouldn't, it was wrong to deny that there was a lab leak, whether it was on purpose or, accidental. Mm-hmm. It was a lab leak. And because it was covered up, and this is not a conspiracy, it was covered up simply because we were not allowed to do that kind of research here anymore. So we found a way to funnel money to a place where they could do that research. And we're doing that research. And they still do that today. How about that? They're still doing some crazy shit at that Wuhan lab today. Mm-hmm. Now, we may not be paying for it anymore, but it is being done.
Gotcha.
Okay. Yeah. And people didn't want to be connected to it, obviously, because it was bad. So there was a cover-up. And that's why you had all the different messaging in the beginning that was all messed up. Don't wear a mask, because it first started out like, you don't have to do that. And then it was all a mess. It was all a mess, and it was handled poorly. And it's taken 5 years for them to finally admit what a lot of us knew is the truth then. And it keeps dribbling out now. They're just trying to save face. So they can say, yeah, we did say it. Yeah, you said it 5 years too late, motherfucker. That don't help. So for mental health, however you feel, if you're struggling, one of the things, I'm not saying people shouldn't take their medications, take your medications, but get out of that house, get off that couch, and get out there and do something. Walk in the motherfucking sunshine for 20 fucking minutes. That vitamin D will do as much for you as about anything else that you can do. Just that. So that's good. This is the Outlaw Apostle Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Neff. I'm the fucking guy. I'm also the guy asking you to hit that subscribe button. We got some big things coming up. You're going to not want to miss it. This whole show is about to change, and it's going to be happening very, very soon, like within the next 2 weeks. You don't want to miss it. Okay, be a part of it. Be a part of the change. Hit the subscribe button. Share the show with someone else. I'm the Outlaw Apostle. I'm the fucking guy. All right, let's continue on. Next segment, we are going to do Make America Great Again. And it's already been talked about for about a week now, I guess, for a minute anyways, and was talked about this weekend with the Republicans getting the continuing resolution passed and then voted on in the House and then the Senate. It was a masterpiece of politics that they were able to get this done. And I've been on the other side. So I really feel it for these liberals who are mad at the leadership of the Democratic Party for caving in. I get it. Because I used to get mad when the Democrats were in charge that the Republicans were going to fight for something and tell me about what they were going to fight for. And then they would actually shut down the government. They would take a stand. But within a week to 3 weeks, every single time they folded without getting anything. It would be different if they would have gotten something during that period of time. And all it was a free vacation for the federal employees because they all got back pay. They didn't have to go to work, and then they eventually got paid for it. Now, it might have hurt some people living paycheck to paycheck. I get it. It is what it is. But nobody lost their job. Everybody got to go back to work and got their back pay. And I'd be so frustrated. Like, why did you even vote for the shutdown if you weren't willing to see it through? You got to be, if you've done that several times, the other side knows you're not going to see it through. They're just going to beat you over the head with it and make you look like shit in public for 2 weeks. It's a lose-lose. It doesn't matter if you're right on the position. Optically, it's awful. It looks bad. And Democrats look bad now because the amount of money that they're spending is continuing on with the same amount that we were spending under Obama. There's not less money being spent. And I'm not happy on the Republican and conservative. I'm not happy about that. I want more cuts. I want to see more cuts. I want somebody to explain to me why we can't go back to pre-COVID levels of spending and things that were directed towards COVID. Get that fucking shit eliminated. There's no excuse for it. With everything else that they're doing positive in the Republican Party and the Trump administration and Doge, and with finding waste, fraud, and abuse, I want to see some of these cuts. And, you know, the one thing about this bill that Democrats, this is kind of interesting, that Democrats are hammering Schumer for caving. And he did the right thing. They should be thanking him. I don't know if they're thanking him privately. Maybe he went to them and said, I'm going to take the heat for this. You guys can say whatever. I don't think so, though. I thought maybe that could be a possibility. But he saved their ass because they had two choices. They had one choice that if they shut down the government and took the stand against Trump and did shut down the government, then Trump had the power to direct what was going to stay open and what wasn't going to stay open. And what happens when they don't give money to a certain area and after a couple weeks we're like, you know, we really didn't miss that service or department or whatever. What is it they're really doing? Like, why are we spending so much over there? It would have given Trump a lot of power to control things that Doge is already focused on, but really maybe go to another level, right? And then Democrats wanted a change in the bill to hamstring Doge and not allow Doge to do the things that they're doing now with the audits. So basically, and that was never going to happen. So the choice was to let them do the continuing resolution, let Doge continue to do what it's been doing, or the other side of giving Trump even more power. Either way, they were not going to be happy, obviously. But one was worse than the other, which is why Schumer made the choice to, like, we have to do this. It's just the way that it is for right now. And they're not doing very well at picking their battles. They're trying to fight every battle and fight on every front. And you can't, and that puts you on the side then of being against. They're all up in arms this weekend because of the gang members that were deported. The only thing I'll say about on the Trump side that they need to be careful of is I was trying to remember one of the I don't know if it was a deputy at a department, but he was interviewed by Laura Ingraham. I should have had you pull the video, but he was interviewed by Laura Ingraham recently. And one of the comments that he made when he was describing these gang members is tattoos. Okay, I get the whole tattoo face thing and gangs and gang tattoos and stuff, but do not say tattoos in a way where you're including very good people. A lot of us have tattoos. It's just the way that he said it. It was like not very good. It's like, dude, you do not need in your description of these people that did not need to be included. That just wasn't a smart thing, in my opinion. That was like that. But
We're rolling. We're on our way.
Oh, that's Gitmo. That's a different place. That's not that's not El Salvador, man. That El Salvador, I think I'd rather go to Gitmo. They're going to treat you better at Gitmo than they are in El Salvador. I promise that. That's crazy. Yeah, I don't know who she interviewed somebody in the Trump administration, and I don't remember who it was, but it's okay. But there are people that are on the wrong side of that, man. You have people now on social media that are speaking up for the rights of these gang members. But the policy that was used to deport them, it wasn't about due process. It was an old law. And then when they tried to say, well, this is an old law, the comeback there that made them look so bad is, well, all of our laws come from the Constitution, which is the oldest. So that's not a good argument. Like, it sounded good when you said it, that we need to, and I'm not saying we don't need to modernize the law to, determine, because we have different enemies now, and we've had different enemies since 9/11. We've had different enemies. It hasn't always been countries, even though we invaded countries. It's been these terrorist organizations. And, our laws were based on, even internationally, were based on armies and armies wearing army-type uniforms and identifying that as against each other. Our enemy doesn't look like that anymore. At least a bunch of them don't.
Yeah.
So we definitely need to do that kind of thing. But I guarantee, so here, I did find this out. I did look it up. And apparently it's true. I didn't realize, I was trying to find out whether people maybe lied in the survey, but I guess not. But apparently there was a survey sometime back that 7% of Americans believe that chocolate milk comes from brown cows.
I have seen that before. I also thought it was just like a made-up number kind of thing. Like, we just at that, or at least when I read that, I thought it was like one of those like yeah, it might be true. Majority of people believe that, but I didn't think it was that specific of a number.
Yeah. No, I looked it up. I didn't want to just say something, and I'm going to use that for this though. Because a lot of talk now, when we talk about the parties, we talk about issues. And is it a 50-50 issue that 50% of the public supports this and 50% of the public supports this? And like, we talk about the transgender issue, and they say it's an 80-20, 90-10 issue. 80% people, supporting girls competing against girls, and 20% believe that boy turned into a girl, should be able to compete against girls. This issue, right? So I don't know if it's we can say it's 90-10 or 99. What, like, most people are going to be on the side of America getting rid of these criminals who committed crimes in their own country and committed crimes here, and had already, committed a crime here, and maybe were released, and we knew who they were, and they just need to be found and deported, and that's what they basically did. So it's not like these are people that didn't get tried for crimes. They did get tried for crimes, and we were letting out really bad people that had done really, really bad stuff. But think about that, though. If 7% of the country really thinks that chocolate milk comes from brown cows, you got to think that it for sure, at least 10% of the country it is totally dumb as fuck.
I'd say a little bit
Totally.
more than that, but yeah.
I think there's more.
I think
Yeah,
more
there's
than 10,
more.
but for sure.
But that's 10% that you can't even count those people. That's just, you don't have the capacity to even think.
Yeah.
You know, you're totally out of it. But think about it. Like, what side of the issue do you really want? How can you? I just don't even understand the defense of it. What they're mad about is they're mad that Trump did it, even though they tried to get a judge to stop him, and we didn't, that they sent them anyways or didn't turn around the airplanes. We'll see how that all works out. But I'm okay with the president challenging that and that authority of a single district court judge in Washington, D.C., determining what's going to happen to criminals that are located in fucking Texas. Okay? These weren't these weren't people that were in a jail in Washington, D.C. That's not what happened. And we got to do something about these leakers.
They're leaking all the information, or
that's kind of how, like, they wanted to get them out and then announce it.
Gotcha.
And it before you have the ACLU, they're going to file a lawsuit, and it's going to go that way. But obviously, you're going to want to control the public, perception and opinion and everything. And that's the other thing. And the ACLU, man, taking the side of these people that, raped children and like just all the list was horrible. Like this was not a good group of people. And you know who our true allies are? Apparently, it's not Canada, it's El Salvador.
it wouldn't have been on my bucket list or my
Well,
list,
I kind of
but-
like that El Salvador president. He's kind of funny.
Yeah.
He's kind of like, oops.
Usually
We'll take 'em.
well, yeah.
But that's offering, real help and helping us get rid out of our country. And like I said, that's not an easy prison. They got to work. It's like a self-funding prison. So, like, what pays for the cost? They're trying to make it that way. That is the work that they do.
The labor, yeah.
They actually have labor that, like, I don't know what they make or do that produces labor that somebody else wants, but it is something. They do something because it does help pay for their stay in that prison during that time. So that would be interesting to know. Like that, but we'll see. These challenges have to happen. No matter what side you're on, these challenges of the court need to happen. And I'm okay with the other side filing lawsuits. Let's do it, but let's do it the right way. And then let's get it to the Supreme Court. Because it needs to be decided what can and can't be done. But we want Trump to clean this up. He said he was going to do it. He campaigned on this. He's doing this. And if you want to, even there's a good percentage of people on the other side, right, that are going to say, you know what? I'm not really for Trump and stuff, but on this one issue, I'm kind of okay with what he's doing. And I promise you that there's a good percentage of people to do this because this is, like I said, this is one of those issues where it's like 90-10 and the 10% don't fucking matter because they're idiots. The 10% are the same people that think that chocolate milk comes from brown cows. You have to be in that group. You have to be in that group because it has to be insane. You have to be off your rocker. It's not a good thing. I don't know why you would do that. Interesting. All right. Something else I wanted to get to as well in our MAGA segment is the SpaceX launch up to the International Space Station, which I think is absolutely phenomenal. As people have been targeting Elon Musk and Tesla and been absolutely stupid and ridiculous. I guess the reason they were left up there and that Biden didn't go after them is maybe NASA was out of money that they had been assigned. But think about it. When there's a natural disaster, if FEMA runs out of money, what do? Congress gets together. They vote on giving them more money. You know, here's a special situation that NASA has a budget. And if sending, you know, the next crew up to get these people back because it wasn't safe. They thought it wasn't safe to bring them back on the same rocket they went up in, basically. And there's two parts you got to remember to the rocket, I guess, is you have the explosion part, the bottom part, which what makes it so amazing is that SpaceX gets to reuse that over and over. It's not a one-time deal. That's the part that comes back that they catch with the and the thing, with the claw. That's fucking incredible. I mean, and especially after the shit that Musk took for the other rocket recently that exploded, that was for a totally different purpose. But this, I think, is a huge win for America. This is a huge win for Musk and a huge win for these astronauts to, you know, come back home. And now they weren't like in some kind of extreme danger. They're trained to do this. You know, even though they were only supposed to be up there for days, I guess, initially, you know, there is the capability for them to be up there longer, and they're trained to be up there longer if necessary. So this is what they train for. This is what they do. But there's still, you know, to me, heroes in my book. And to leave them there, we just don't leave people behind. That's kind of the mantra of our military, is it not? You know, we do not leave people behind. And we never should. And money should not have been a reason that we do this. And so not only that, did Musk do this as a part, also as a part of the flight, like they dropped a bunch of satellites out, like 20, 30 satellites, I guess, and more Starlink satellites too, that are going to help communication. You know what I mean? That's what I mean. We've talked about changing to Starlink for our internet, and when we were going to move, now it's going to be delayed, maybe, which is okay. And we may not move for another year. Whatever happens, happens. But if we were moving, I was definitely setting up Starlink in the new place right away to just go with that and not transfer the Cox over. Just leave the Cox in place here until we made the move and then shut it off and then boom, go with the Starlink. I want to try it out. I'm curious as fuck.
See if it's like actually like good or not. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've had other people mention to me, you know, people who hunt and do other things and do hiking and camping and stuff. They love it.
All right.
They take it with them, man. Like I'm good with that.
I mean, it sounds very convenient.
Sounds better than Verizon.
Honestly, though, you're not wrong.
It is, but like I haven't really checked, but I'm sure they've got their panties in a twist this week with this happening. You know, so positive on Musk's side, positive that you know we're able to do this and pursue this, and I guess I'm struggling today because it's just the thoughts coming so fast in my head that this trying to understand where other people that have opposing views, what they're basing it on, where's it coming from? You know, what is it that they believe, and why do they believe it? And they almost can't articulate it. It's just a pure hatred. And then they just, because they don't like it, they just find ways to justify it. They're just looking for those pieces to justify it instead of looking at it like, because Trump is not a traditional Republican. We've talked about this over and over. He's just pragmatic. The Republicans are just lining up because it's smart for them to do so. I'm not saying they don't believe in what he's doing, but I'm saying that, he's doing things differently than traditional Republicans have in the past. Traditional Republicans haven't been known as a party for the working man. And that's shifting. Why is it shifting? Because a part of that, I didn't mention it, my fault, when we started talking about the continuing resolution, no taxes on tips, no taxes on overtime, and we're told he hates seniors, right? He hates seniors because he's going to steal their Social Security. No taxes on Social Security. So the people you tell me on this side over here, the left, this side over, you tell me that he hates and he doesn't respect and doesn't like, and I see him actually doing things for them, not just mouthing the words, that policies are put in place to help people. A lot of people, because again, I'm not saying it's not true, even when I say, hey, you got to suck it up and do the work you got to do to have the life you want to have and the money you want to have and all that, yeah, it is hard to make it on 40 hours a week. It is. So a lot of people, if they can, they take that overtime. Or, the people that can make it on their overtime, I've known people when I was a financial advisor, they would save all their overtime and invest it. They were smart enough to develop their lifestyle around their 40-hour pay, and anything above that is what they saved. Now, sometimes that was difficult because overtime wasn't there because of the economy and different things, but that's not a bad plan, So same with this. That's, helping out working people and saying, I see you. I know prices have gone up over the last 4 years. I know there's been inflation. Some of the things that we're doing are going to take, 3 months, 6 months, even a year to be implemented for you to feel the benefits of. We're going to feel more of the benefits of the things that are being done to make energy cheaper. We're going to feel more of those benefits 6 months from now and 9 months from now. That's not something that can always be done instantly, but there can be a little instant effect. And we have seen, a little bit of a price drop at the gas pump too. But it's always going to fluctuate. But again, the longer term steps that are going to have a more dramatic effect and put money back in people's pockets is going to take a short minute. But that's being done. In the meantime, let's see how else you can be helped by not paying taxes on your overtime. Or like I said, a lot of people work in the food industry, and it's not just the waiter that's getting the tips. That waiter typically tips out the other people too, is that clean off the tables and everything. They have a way they do that. Again, no tax on tips. That'll be great. It'd be great for the restaurant owner to not have to figure that shit out. Do all those calculations and take out taxes on it and stuff. Less of a burden on the restaurant owner. So all good things as a part of that. How did I get from SpaceX to that? I don't know. Back over to that, but but I did. And it's okay. Again, it's just positive things happening, and me trying to understand the other side. I really am trying to understand the other side more than I think they're trying to understand us, because I am purely baffled, because it can't be morals, because they never had any. I mean, a lot of your liberals are, they're not spiritual or religious in any way, or, I would say there's probably fewer conservative atheists than there are liberal atheists,
I would say
in
so.
general. Yeah. Well, just, I mean, the debate on abortion comes down to, people, there's more people who have some type of religious belief are less likely to be pro-abortion. There's some, obviously, people that call themselves Catholic and they're pro-abortion, but there's fewer of those than there is of those that are, pro-life. I'm just trying to figure it out. I haven't been able to. I'm still searching. I'm still searching, because I do honestly want to know. And the things that we're saying to each other now is, I promise, I know what I'm saying is not gonna change anybody's mind, and I'm not even looking to do that. They seem to still think they can say this shit that didn't work, and they are gonna change our mind, all the while calling us names. See, we're just calling you names because we don't give a shit anymore, and we don't care, and we're just giving it back to you, and we're winning. We're not angry. We really aren't. We're happy with what's going on for the most part. I've talked about the things we weren't happy about. We're really not a cult, but if you want to say we are, okay. No, like, I really, two areas that I have issues with right now with the Trump administration is the Epstein files and spending. I want to, and I love what Doge is doing, but I'm talking about separate from that. I'm talking about Congress controlling the purse string spending. Okay. What are you motherfuckers doing? Because we need to address well, obviously you have to address the deficit, and the goal should be not in 5 years. How it should be in 2 years that we should have zero deficit. Because if you don't get rid of the deficit, you can't get rid of the debt. You can't reduce the debt. And I want to see us get to the point where we're actually reducing the debt, because it's the interest on the debt that's killing us. And as we add more onto the debt, pretty soon we're just paying interest on shit that we borrowed and spent, and we have no money to really, our money becomes worthless at that point. And then we become a third world country, and that's when it all falls apart. And that's the road we're headed down, and why a billionaire decided to step in and offer help when monetarily he is not benefiting from what he's doing, and he knew he wasn't going to benefit. He knew he wasn't going to benefit, at least for a while. Maybe it will turn around and he will benefit long term from his purchase of Twitter, but there's no big financial payoff right now for that. But it was worth it to preserve freedom of speech and to preserve our country. Like, he doesn't need this. He could have stayed out of this mess. The stock would still be where it was. He could still be loved by you liberals who, bought Teslas for the environment. He could have avoided all this. All he had to do was not get involved, not take a side. That's all he had to do, and go about his life. And, then, some people would like him, some people not, but not the attention that he has now. Especially the negative attention. He could have just went on his happy way. I'm glad he didn't. To me, that's what a real patriot is. And to be, willing to lose that money. Think about it, you dumbasses. That's money he can't, you all want him to donate more? It's money that money, that $100 billion or $50 billion that the value of his net worth that went down, he can't use that money to create more jobs or opportunity. He can't use that money now to, be more philanthropic and give it away to wherever you fucking think he should give it away to. It's gone for the moment. Is that better? And I think that's part two, in this world where, like, when we did the talk about Patrick Bet-David and Ben Cohen, here's the difference. Even though I'm politically different than Ben Cohen and align more with Patrick Bet-David, both of us still feel that what Ben Cohen, the person that he is that his money is better in his hands to do good things than it is to give it to the government. And tell me I'm wrong. It's okay. I'm a big boy. I can take it. You people on the other side seem to think that money somehow is going to be better with the government. The government distributing it. They've demonstrated no track record that I know of that would give me confidence in the government being better with your money than you being with your money. It's just as simple as that. That's the philosophical differences right now. So, I'm not hating on rich people. That's not going to happen. Not even the liberal ones. It's not going to happen. Oh, maybe Soros, but that's a different discussion. So, all right. That's what we have for today. Wrapping it up. We are doing 3 shows a week now. Join us for each and every one. Listen to the segment that you like. Come and get what you want. Leave what you don't want. Pass it on. This is the Outlaw Apostle Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Neff. I'm the fucking guy.
Whoa! Who knew I would make it this far? They hated, they never believed me. Yeah, I would never drop the ball. I know I make it look easy. Yeah, Mayweather with the defense. I don't care what a critic got to say. I got them picking up the pieces. That to me, you really playing with your life.